wanted to have this podcast be a little bit more about how to like manage your summer when it comes to alcohol, because I feel like dry January and in the winter, we tend to definitely drink a lot less alcohol because you're in less social settings, seasonal depression, like going out to the bars in the rain or the snow or the cold is just like not as fun. But when the summer hits and we're at barbecues, we're on the beach, or we're, at different festivals and whatever, there's so much more opportunity to consume alcohol. And I feel like in the fitness world, you know, there's a lot of like in moderation, or don't drink alcohol because it's bad, or I'm just gonna, do cardio and lift heavy, and then, I can have all the alcohol I want. And there's all this like different thing, whatever. There's so much noise around the alcohol conversation. I think millennials in general, and we talked about this a little bit on the podcast with Mitzi, but millennials in general are seeing that you can have mocktails, and you can go out and you don't have to drink. You don't have to get hammered. And we're in this season of life right now where like that's what's happening. And I'm not sure that ever happened before, because I don't know that there was ever enough people doing that back to that societal pressure thing. Like, I don't think there was ever enough people doing that people felt comfortable doing that. And I went on my bachelorette party a couple weekends ago, and nobody cared if you drank or not. And in fact, there was someone who advocated that they, just aren't a big drinker. So everyone on this trip looked at the mocktails and were like, "Oh, that sounds good. Like, are you like, which one are you going to get?" or something along those lines. And like, some people ordered a mocktail even though they were drinking. Like, it's just, there's so much more acceptance around it, which maybe that's just the type of people I'm surrounding myself with, which I'm grateful for. But like, I feel like there's this transition towards that. And I do love that. But then there's the people that enjoy alcohol and they're just feeling really like judged, or they're feeling like, slighted or whatever, because when people take this journey of sobriety or just less drinking in general, people that continue to drink feel like they're being judged or watched in some way because those people, whatever. And that goes along with like just being a fitness person in general. Anytime I go to a barbecue or anytime I go on vacation, I feel like people are constantly justifying why they're eating things to me. And I'm like, you can eat whatever you want. Like, I'm not judging you and I do not care. And there have been points in my life a few months ago that I would like crush several servings of chocolate chip cookies of Chips Ahoy with milk. Like, you can eat whatever you want. Nobody should judge you for that you are putting yourself in a situation with. And I certainly, as a nutrition coach, am probably one of the last people to judge people. And I say that, and I'll get to the alcohol in a second, but just things kind of keep coming up and like, what else is new? I say that, and like, I am so mindful of eating habits and feeling like uncomfortable in your space, that like, when I was thinking about things for our wedding, like, these are things that were coming up. There's nothing wrong with buffets at a wedding. But for me, like, the anxiety that, I don't even know if I have a lot of anxiety over it, but it definitely crosses my mind that when you go to a buffet and you have all these people around you, whether you know or don't know them, you're going to have a certain bias towards that. And so, like, depending on what type of food it is, a lot of people feel like, oh, no, I shouldn't eat that much for many reasons. One, because it's like, oh, I need to leave some for everyone else. Or two, like, I don't want people to see me pigging out or whatever, or I don't want to be wasteful if I don't eat all this. Like, there's so much like thought that goes into food and a buffet line and everything. And if I have those thoughts, I know one or two other people have those thoughts. And that is enough for me to be like, nope, I am not putting anyone in that situation, because I don't want to be in that situation. So I couldn't imagine like putting anyone else in that situation. And then on top of that, there's also like feeling confined in your space, or just feeling uncomfortable in your space. Like, we were so cognizant of how many people we wanted there because a certain number of people would cause the tables to be closer. And the last thing I want is anyone feeling uncomfortable because the person sitting behind them is like too close. Or maybe the person that's sitting at that chair feels like they can't get any closer to the table. And then now they're, whatever it is, like that space, I just can't. I could not imagine, because I know when I go to sit behind somebody or somebody comes to sit behind me, I try to make myself as small as possible so that they're comfortable. And it is just my innate nature. And I just could not imagine putting anyone in that situation. So, yeah, like these are literally things that I think about for our own wedding. But that just goes into the alcohol thing somehow. When it comes to alcohol, I feel like a lot of people forget to talk about the science or like why it's not good for you or whatever. So I just kind of want to go through some like more major understandings of it and its role in your body and like why certain things happen and things like that. So alcohol, obviously, we all know is a depressant. So it immediately kind of like makes your body and your mind more in a depressive state. And that's why when you have Red Bull, it just kind of like is this counteracting effect and it's really not good for you. But so it's this depressant. So that's like the first thing. And typically when you have a lot of alcohol, obviously all of us have felt this, like the hangover, but like you mentally start to feel really different for a day or two when you're recovering from alcohol. Things just are a little bit more emotional. And you just maybe are overthinking things. Like it gives you a little bit more pause, a little bit more anxiety. That's like the mental piece of it. But the physical piece is that it's a toxin that goes into your body, and so it goes into your bloodstream. And basically your body shuts down its ability to perform any other digestive functions because all it wants to do is remove the toxin from your body. When you when you consume alcohol and there's not a lot of food in your stomach to absorb it, we've all heard that, or to counteract its effects on the stomach lining, that is when we start to feel really, really sick. And like, it's creating this acid situation happening in our stomachs. And that is that physical piece there. But then when the alcohol enters the bloodstream, the body basically stops all digestive functions and it starts trying to get the toxin out of your bloodstream. And the more concentration that you have of that, the harder that's going to be. And so what happens is your body actually burns more trying to rid itself of alcohol. So you're actually burning a ton of calories by doing that, but then your body goes into overdrive mode of being hungry because it requires more fuel to be able to do that because it hasn't processed the fuel that you've already put in there because it's trying to get the alcohol out. So now you're really hungry, which is why we're all really hungry when we drink, but now you're super hungry and you're way, way overfeeding yourself because not only did you probably go over your calorie count with the alcoholic content of whatever, but now you're actually adding more food because you're hungry and you like require it. And then, we all know that like it's going to make us feel a little bit better when we have something in our stomachs for the following day. So that is like literally the science behind it. That is why you get hungry. That's why you feel bloated. You can't go to the bathroom, or you go to the bathroom too much, or, things like that. So the physical turmoil that it actually turns internally is what makes alcohol such a difficult thing to continue when you're on a fitness journey. And there are tips, tricks, whatever you want to say, that would allow you to incorporate alcohol into your day. But I would say that the biggest one is really changing the mindset you have behind alcohol. I know for me, when I was younger, like I would go out and I would get these 8% Angry Orchard, like tall boy cans, because I knew I would get really drunk off of those and I didn't really have to drink a whole lot else. That was my mindset, was that if I was drinking, I was getting drunk. And like that's a lot of people's mindset, honestly, until like your early to mid 20s. And the first piece is repairing your relationship with alcohol the same way you would repair it with food, where it's I don't need to get drunk. I'm literally just going to have drinks because I enjoy them and I enjoy the taste of them. And that's it. And like, if you end up having two dirty martinis that accidentally make you drunk, then you do. But like, you know, I'm speaking from experience, like every single one is going to hit me differently depending on like how much food I've eaten, whatever. But sometimes I'm like, wait, I only had two drinks or whatever, and I'm feeling far more intoxicated than I did the other day when I did this exact same thing or something along those lines. But ultimately, I'm not trying to get there. I'm simply enjoying myself and then going from there. So if you remove yourself from being like, I'm going to crush 10 White Claws to get drunk, and you say, hey, I'm actually going to have, a tequila soda because I like the taste of that way better. And, it's not about getting drunk. It's just about, really enjoying the taste and like, drinking, whatever. That will ultimately help your physical change as much as it helps your mental change around alcohol. In terms of like tips and like things that you should do when you're getting ready to drink, first of all, you should front load protein, right? Like, absolutely, you should have a protein heavy breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever timing you're about to eat or you're about to start drinking. And that should be a really big source of food for you, if you will. Secondly, you should make sure again that you're having a lot of nutrients, a lot of fruits and vegetables, high fiber, like things that are going to allow your body to actually process and keep things moving. And then the third thing would be like the rule of thumb, and I feel like everybody knows this, but like having 1 glass of water per drink and like starting with water. So you can't start your drink until you have finished, a cup of water, a glass of water, and then you can start your drink. And then when you're done with it, you need to drink another glass of water before you can start your next drink. And you can chug your water, doesn't matter. But like the more hydration you can have around alcohol, the better you're going to feel physically and the better your body is going to be able to handle it, because you're also oxygenating your blood while putting toxins in it, which will ultimately make everything process better. And then the last thing that I would say is making sure that you're eating food before you start drinking, and like eating that like pretty soon before. Literally, if you're going to go, drinking to at a bar or whatever, like having some pasta or rice or some, not like a salad for dinner and then you go drink. No, like have something substantial. And that way, when you do drink, your stomach lining doesn't get so irritated from the alcohol and changing that balance to like a higher acidity. And that acidity is also why we crave like the dairy, like the pizza and the mac and cheese and things like that, because we need things that are not as acid based to put in our stomachs to feel better. I could keep going on with that, but I'm going to stop right there because it's going to get way too sciencey, and that is not what we're here for. So I guess when it comes to the summer and everything that you've got going on, this is just your reminder that it's not that you need to give it up. But if you do have a goal in mind, you are going to have to create some discipline. You're going to have to understand that things have to change in order for you to achieve your goals. Like, you can't continue on the path that you're currently on and then see change. You have to make a change. And alcohol is a catalyst that we have to use to make an abundant change, because I know people that, drink pretty regularly or, consume a decent amount and have gotten pregnant and then have lost a ton of weight during their pregnancy from their pre-pregnancy weight. And a lot of that is attributed to your alcohol and the amount of stress and anxiety that it causes throughout your day, because that rolls into more than just the night or the day that you're drinking. So these are just some important things that like you really need to understand. And again, it's not about giving it up, but it's about changing the mindset with it and being able to put yourself in a position that allows you to succeed, rather than constantly feeling like you're spinning your wheels and you don't know like how to get to where you're going, because you don't understand that this is such an important part of that change and an integral part of, making that change. Now, I say all that and I actively drink here and there. Like, I went to some event and I had no idea we were going out to dinner, But we did, and I was like, you know what? I just want a glass of red wine. So I got a glass of red wine. But then, we've gone out to other dinners where I'm like, I just don't feel like drinking anything. And so then I don't, even though the other people around me are. And that has been the biggest change from changing my relationship with alcohol and my mindset around it. So if you get nothing else from this podcast, understand the science behind it and put yourself in a position to understand, what you need to do in efforts to still be able to achieve your goals without giving up everything. Because I understand and know that alcohol is such a social thing, and it does cause so much like turmoil, if you will, with people around you, whether it's because you are or you aren't, and the people around you are or aren't. Like, there is this like stigma that happens. And so I'm just here to remind you that that's okay. And that societal pressure is going to continue. And if you want to make a change, you have to somehow accept that, move past it, and just keep being the best version of yourself. And ultimately, that's what this podcast is about. It's about helping you make healthy changes in your life while still being the best version of yourself, and not feeling like you're giving up everything and not being able to relate and or enjoy the people that you surround yourself with. So I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast, and I will catch you next week.